My friends, sometimes less is more. Call it a PRX homage or an El Primero homage, but Casio Edifice just released their best analog chronograph so far. The sub-brand Edifice is the god tier of Casio and the cousin of G-Shock. And they released recently the beautiful EFB 730D, a vintage-inspired chrono which demonstrates that by simplifying things you can say more. And if you'll keep things simple, you might attract more people around your product, which is the case today. Normally the Edifice value consists in better refining of the dials or the distinct octagonal cases, but that's pretty much it, because the bracelets aren't matching, in my opinion, the refinement of the watches. For example, I did review and still own the 3 hands Edifice Casio, more like an Octo Finissimo, and I was truly impressed by the quality and the thinness of the EFRS 108s. Beautiful dial, beautiful case, 100 meters, a solid go anywhere do anything watch. The problem is the lack of making them adaptable. For instance, if they knew how to adapt their watches to kind of hose straps, these could have been super contenders for the Tissot PRX line, for instance. Especially because the Gente trend is still viable, this could have been an Octo Finissimo budget alternative. Luckily, they learned something out of this. And in general, if people are complaining about the quality of the bracelets, as it happened with the beautiful Casio Edifice, basically the lack of strap alternatives due to the custom lugs, luckily in this context they were pretty smart, saying, you don't like our bracelets? Fine. Remove the bracelet and you have 20mm between the lugs to host any strap you want, just to be happy. And this feature indeed made me happy. While I was trying to adjust the bracelet, I was like, why am I bothering? So I removed it and added a curved rubber strap from 7 Friends and Watches on it. Beautiful. Besides making it better looking, I added the comfort of the curved rubber, which doesn't fall directly from the case towards the wrist, especially having a short lug to lug. Overall, the watch feels adaptive due to the monochrom dial. Basically, you can host all sorts of rubber straps or leather, but not NATOs. The lugs are extremely short and there isn't that much spacing to pass a NATO. The bracelet is for my standard in parameters, push pins, an adjustable clasp, hollow end links, fully brushed with polished accents on the bottom of each link. I think it works with the simplified designs and stays pretty comfortable on the wrist. So no matter if it sits on rubber, on leather or on its bracelet, the watch simply looks amazing on the wrist, and it is sized at 40mm with 11mm as thickness, having a flat case back, which means it lays down on the wrist surface and it wears exactly like a well-tailored vintage watch. So not to be deceived by the 40mm diameter, as this is wearing smaller than this, more like a 38mm having short lugs. Now, as first impressions, if you'll see it physically in the stores, in the shelves, you'll notice it immediately. This watch looks so sharp, so simplified with a vintage-inspired aspect that you can barely resist to grab one for yourself. That cool it is. But be aware, on eBay for instance, this color version is higher priced compared to the other from the collection, but do not pay more than retail, whatever, $150, $140 for it. It's not worth more than that. Until now, I had only one preferred quartz chronograph, the Timex Marlin, for its vintage appeal and the mechanical experience of the quartz movement. But now there are two. I equally find this Edifice, besides being good looking and vintage inspired, as well contrasted and well finished. This is a day-to-day watch for sure. It is well crafted to wear comfortable, has a sapphire crystal but also 10 atmospheres as the waterproofness, an ideal GADA watch in my opinion. The way I see it, from now on, Edifice will be a brand to keep an eye on, because from this point they will probably release more and more relevant chronographs closer to our preferences, and I guess the sales of this watch will be a positive indicator for them to stop making those complicated watches with all sorts of subdials, and this watch will prove to them that less is more. Just look at how beautiful and simple this model is, how the sunburst metallic dial adds a refined look to the watch, and how the baguettes of the hands are reversed to create the right contrasts. Simply beautiful. The case of the EFB 730D feels to be inspired from the Tissot PRX chronograph or from the Zenith El Primero Chronomaster revival. A simple, flat tonneau design with slight angled lugs, a discreet polished chamfer, and a not so sophisticated conical outer bezel. So simple and so effective. I like how the case profile sits down on the wrist and it represents pretty well the vintage-inspired chronograph segment. The dial is silver, not white, almost matches the case chromatic tone, but I'd say it provides enough refinement and contrast for the Panda subdials. There is the discrete black chaptering which highlights the minute track to break the rhythm of the silver steel tone from the case to the dial, an accent representative for vintage watches. The markers are nicely sized with a front chamfer which accommodates enough lume, matching the faceted pencil hands which are interrupted longitudinally by a black accent followed by the loomed accent, another vintage-inspired motif. And surprisingly, the lume is good. Although the dial feels elegant and refined, Casio added plenty of space to accommodate the loomed accents on the dial markers but also on the hands. I'm really pleased how they complemented this day-to-day chronograph. As quick specs, we have 40mm as diameter, 11mm in height, 47mm as lug tip to lug tip, 20mm between the lugs, super useful and weighs around 110 grams with the bracelet adjusted. The watch has a sapphire crystal, a tonneau case, 10 bar as waterproofness, a distinct chronograph movement featuring the module 5742 quartz, which features a chronograph subdial at 6 o'clock, and the price recommended should be around $140. Now let's talk about negatives. For $140 we've concluded this is more than a solid watch. My problem with the Edifice chronograph is that they work different. Basically, the normal chronograph hand is the main actionable one, but in this case the actionable chrono hand is the one from the 6 o'clock subdial, the main one being a normal second hand, meaning that has still the ability to measure stuff but not as a classic chronograph through its main hand. Overall, I find the watch in the same theme, it doesn't disappoint as design, so I'd say it's a pass. Another potential negative is the bracelet, which in general does not match the quality of the case, but associated it works. More than that, as I mentioned, on this model the bracelet can be removed, the case has 20mm between the lugs, so sky is the limit in regard to the strap options. Should you buy this watch? I'd say it's a beauty, looks well accented and contrasted to unveil pretty much a premium look to it. The price is right, the watch is robust specs wise and good looking. So this was my first purchase. The second purchase involves a bit of drama behind it. I'll explain it to you in the next episode. And in the end, I'm really curious to know what do you think about this Edifice Panda chronograph. Please let me know in the comments below. And as usual, if you're new around, please consider subscribing for future episodes. Thank you very much, thanks for watching, and until next time, be brave and stay safe.